Hello and welcome back to another season of REELTV. We're back after a summer hiatus. My name is Connor Smith.
And I'm Rachel Hine.
And today we're going to discuss the Emmys, which air tonight on Fox at 8 p.m. We're shooting this on a Sunday, but this clip will come out later. But for now, we're just going to talk about what we think should win, because who really knows? People put out their predictions, but
there's no way to really know.
The Emmys are so much harder to predict than the Oscars.
Yeah.
And I think you could, like with Best Drama, for example, like you really could. My money's on like Mad Men, but
yeah, me too.
Who really knows? I mean,
there's no way to predict. I always think I know, and then I'm like, wow, I was really wrong. So there isn't really a way to know.
So we're gonna kick it off with comedies, right?
Yes.
Because I personally like the comedy choices. I watch a lot more sitcoms than I do dramas. So first we're going to kind of get into the nominations for Best Comedy, which are Louie, Modern Family, Parks and Recreation, Veep, Silicon Valley, Transparent, and Unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt. I've watched 6 out of 7 of these. I don't watch Silicon Valley. But if I had to choose, I would choose, oh God, I want to choose Transparent because I think it's an important show. It's really topical. The performance by Jeffrey Tambor alone, really, it's a sensitive series. I think it's brilliantly performed, brilliantly written. And then I really just want to say Parks and Rec also because I just want to give it that. You got a great final season. What would you say?
I was going to say Parks and Rec. I think everyone really loved the ending and the whole season in general. And I think that I think it deserves an Emmy. I think they're all hysterical. And I think out of the ones that they're competing against, I think Parks and Rec should win.
If Modern Family wins again, so help me God. I love Modern Family.
I do too.
I keep up with it week to week, but
I think it was better in the beginning.
Wealth. I do too.
I think now it had its time, and I think other things can have a turn now. Other shows.
I don't think the kids have aged as well. They're kind of at that they're not like cute anymore, so they're kind of trying to like figure out what to do with them.
Now that they're older, how do you incorporate them into the show as much as you could when
the adults are still all great.
Yeah.
But the kids are kind of like the weak spot for me. I would give it to any of these shows. Like
they're also
Unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt is so. Oh gosh, it is so like joke a minute. It's fast. It's quick.
A very different kind of humor than the other.
It is. It's very irreverent versus like kind of those other shows, and it's been compared to 30 Rock like a gazillion times, but kind of rightfully so. Like it does have that same, even the same like music choices, and Jane Krakowski is chewing scenery as she does so well. Another, I think if I had to vote, I would say Transparent, but then I'd say Parks and Rec, but then if I had a third choice, I'd say Veep, because the 4th season of Veep was astounding, and what they did with Anna Chomsky, that's her name, I believe. Yeah, Anna Klumsky. I'm saying that wrong. What they did with her character was amazing this season. She had this scene where she just went off on Julia Louis-Dreyfus's character on like how horrible of a president she is, and this series is still so funny. But let's move on to Best Actor in a Comedy. What do you think should win?
Well, I don't know what should win, but I know personally I'm a huge fan of Better Call Saul. And I think
he's nominated for drama though.
Oh,
yes.
Is he?
Bob
I was looking. Yeah, I saw.
We have
drama.
our little papers here.
Oh, I was looking at drama.
Our little nomination papers.
Okay. So what do I think should win Best Actor in a Comedy? I'm not sure. I think they're all a lot of really good contenders for that one.
Yeah.
I don't know. What do you think?
I think hands down Jeffrey Tambor for Transparent. There were a couple surprises.
You really like Transparent, don't you?
I think it's really, really great. It's a very warm series. Like, I don't think it's one of those that it's not really a comedy. Transparent is not LOL funny as often as it is. It's very warm, and it kind of really delves into very deep things with Mara, who's played by Jeffrey Tambor, who's this transgender woman in the show. there were a lot of surprises. I really didn't think Anthony Anderson or Will Forte would get nominated. I'm happy they did, but I really didn't see that coming. And then there's the ones that get nominated every year. The Showtime Spring Trio, William H. Macy, Don Cheadle, and Matt LeBlanc. They're nominated almost every year,
single time,
but they never win.
Yeah.
And Louis, I think Louis could steal it too. I think the 5th season of Louis was great with the scene where he almost pooped his pants outside with his daughter. That was a great scene. And then,
I'd be happy with that one.
What about lead actress? And then we're going to move on to dramas.
I think that Amy Schumer is definitely, she's very up and coming, and I think the Trainwreck did fantastic. And a lot of people know her name now and have been watching the show because of that. And I think it's finally getting its time in the fame now.
Mm-hmm. I want to pick Amy Schumer, but I would pick Amy Poehler.
Well, they're both Amy.
And if only because the final season was so heartfelt and so that's another one of those shows. It's just so warm, and like the friendship of those characters is so wonderful. Like the characters are not. So many comedies are like really mean spirited and really like Parks and Rec is just a very happy. Yeah, it's a very, very happy series.
I agree.
I don't watch The Comeback, and I think people are going to get really angry that like people are so not a lot of people watched it,
but the
fan base is so passionate and fervent. And then I don't think you want to give it to Julia Louis-Dreyfus, but I think she's won enough times that it's not that she had a bad season, but I'd say Amy Schumer or Amy Poehler. Let's move on to dramas. Supporting, if we had a lot more time, we'd talk about supporting. But how about them dramas? Rachel Hine?
If I had to make a prediction, I would say Mad Men. Totally. I just think that's a clear fan favorite, and that's what I could see 100%. That's what wins. But I think there are a lot of different contenders too that I wouldn't be upset if Mad Men didn't win.
I think Mad Men could win because, one, it was a really great final season. Two, it was part 2 of season 7 because they did what AMC is so often doing now and splitting
and
A and B, which is stupid. Just air the 14 episodes, please. 7 and 7 is really annoying. I think Mad Men could take it. It did win 4 years in a row. Mad Men won it for its first best show for its first 4 seasons. And I think since it did go out on such a high note, it seems like a clear front runner. And if I voted, I would choose Better Call Saul. I really adored.
Yeah, that's what I was saying before because I thought you said drama. Yeah.
I was initially really hesitant because Breaking Bad is so incredible, and I think that it could have been just the same level of kind of craftsmanship, and that show was Breaking Bad was so meticulous about everything.
Oh yeah.
And a lot of that went unnoticed, and I wasn't sure if the character of Saul was interesting enough to lead a whole series. I think the series was really, really spectacular.
And I think Bob Odenkirk, I think he's great. And he's in Birthday Boys on IFC, so you kind of seen him in both lights. And I think he's really talented, and I think I would be very happy if Better Call Saul won.
And one thing I loved about Better Call Saul was that he really showed off his dramatic chops more so than he ever did.
Yeah.
Like Saul was very much so a comedic character in Breaking Bad, and only kind of toward the end did he have really those dramatic scenes.
Right.
But Better Call Saul, he had a lot of material to deal with. Like
done.
And it was really powerfully done, especially the episode, the finale. I thought that episode where he kind of accepted that he doesn't want to really do these little small cases, and he kind of accepts that he's not going to do it the ethical way, and that's kind of what I liked about the finale.
Yeah.
So we kind of both agree that Mad Men and Better Call Saul.
Yeah, we're in agreement on that one.
I think Homeland, it was nice to see Homeland get another nomination. The 4th season was really great. And Game of Thrones could steal it. I have like that feeling that I think Game of Thrones had a good season. I don't think it was as good as the 4th season, the 5th season, but as in I don't think that the 5th season was as good as the 4th season. Sorry, that was, but it still had a lot of great stuff with Arya and Cersei and Khaleesi. So who knows? And then we're gonna go do actor and actress. What do you think?
Well, I think for actor, let me see. I put down Homeland.
You want Claire to win?
You know what? I would be happy.
See, for me, this feels like a battle between Viola Davis and Taraji P. Henson.
Okay.
Cookie versus, what's the character's name?
I don't know.
Annalise Keating.
Okay.
And then, if I had to pick, I would choose Bob Odenkirk for Better Call Saul. I think John Hamm has never won, though, which is why I really want him to win, too. Yeah. John Hamm has never won for Mad Men, which is so surprising to me. You would have thought...
Do you think he will win?
I think he could. I think because he hasn't been recognized... his performance has been nominated and recognized, but it hasn't really been... He's never won. So I really think
Maybe if that doesn't win series, he'll...
Yeah, I really hope... I kind of want John Hamm or Bob Odenkirk to win. I don't watch Bloodline or Ray Donovan. Yeah. Jeff Daniels and Kevin Spacey were good. I think the third season of House of Cards and the third season of The Newsroom both were fine. I had problems with both, but I don't know if either of those actors, I don't think either are going to win. And then for actress, I would kind of choose Henson for Empire.
Okay.
I think the character of Cookie is so fascinating.
I think a lot of people
so hilarious and so everything that she says on that show is, you just cover your mouth and go, what was that? She's so mean and she insults a lot of people, but also there's this really tender side of her and this relationship with her three sons that I've always found extremely fascinating. Do you watch Empire? You should.
Don't, but
it's so addicting. It's so great.
Agree with you, I think, on that. I think that would be a fan favorite and what was chosen.
I feel like there's this kind of battle going between Davis and Henson. But it was so nice that Tatiana Maslany got one for Orphan Black. I've seen the first season. I haven't seen all of it, but people are super, super passionate about it.
Yeah.
So that's it from us here on ReelTV.
We'll see if we're right, I guess.
We'll probably be wrong about everything, but I hope you enjoyed listening to us ramble on and on and on about television for 15 minutes. I'm Connor Smith.
I'm Rachel Hine. Thanks for watching.
Hello, and welcome back to another episode of ReelTV. I'm Connor Smith.
And I'm Matt Regiposki.
And today we're going to be talking about the 24th James Bond movie, Spectre, which came out this past weekend. It is the fourth James Bond outing from Daniel Craig, and it is the second to be directed by Sam Mendes, and he took over the franchise with Skyfall. Mm-hmm. It is potentially Daniel Craig's last. Potentially. He said some not so hot things about the franchise. More specifically, that he would rather slit his wrists than play James Bond again. So we'll see what happens. What did you think about it, both as a regular old Bond movie and as maybe if it were to be his last?
As harsh as his statements are, I think that Daniel Craig performed amazingly in this movie. I think that it was probably his best performance as the character James Bond, besides Casino Royale, which I see as the top of Craig's Bond movies.
Yeah, I didn't see, I think some people, I read a couple of reviews and people thought that he didn't care anymore. They just saw that he just wasn't putting forth the effort. And I really don't, I disagree with that. I really thought that he brought it just as much as he did before. I don't really think his performance was better or worse. I think the one thing that I really loved about this Bond movie, I don't think it's as good as Skyfall, I should say. And I think Skyfall is probably my favorite of his sort of quadrilogy of Bonds. I love that Spectre had this continuity to it. It took elements of, and there were returning characters as well. I love that it kind of brought forth the elements from the past three and his losses and his sort of the villains and the challenges that he went through in the past and kind of brought them to a head in this one. And the other thing I really liked about it was that it had a lot more of M and Moneypenny and Q being in the action as well. They had this sort of subplot with them being involved with this story, being immersed in it, and that hasn't happened in a Bond movie in forever.
Yeah, I definitely think that they had a really interesting direction with this movie. It starts out, you get blank screen, and it just says, "The dead are alive." And that continued, right, the next scene is, Dia de los Muertos, there's a parade, they're in Mexico City, it's like, everybody is, Bond comes out, and he's in this, like, sweet tuxedo, but he's wearing this mask, and he's looking amazing, and everybody knows it.
He's looking amazing.
He's suave,
let's
he's walking through.
That.
But yeah, this theme of the dead or alive, and it just kept coming back.
With Vespa, especially.
Vesper comes in, that's haunting him, his past is haunting him.
She was the Bond girl in Casino Royale.
Yeah.
And spoiler alert, not really, the movie came out 10 years ago. She passed away, and that was like really, really horrible for him.
Yeah, that was like his, I think Christoph Waltz's character says that was the big one. I think he says that. And it was. But we see that, his past come up a lot more than it has, I think, even in Skyfall. Skyfall really succeeded in like playing up that relationship between M and James Bond.
It did.
And
that has been a relationship that has been extremely important. More so, I love that they gave not even both the character but also Judi Dench so much to do in that movie, because she's been such a great M through the Brosnan movies as well as the Craig movies.
Even in this movie, I thought it was, the dead are alive, and what's setting him on this course of following this, this organization and trying to find this particular villain is M herself. She sends him, and she's like, look, you need to finish this up. I know, I don't really know we don't know the extent of what she knew in terms of this villain, but we knew that, like, she was aware something was up. Definitely. And she, and it was like a last testament that Bond was the only person that she left this message to. He was the only person that she could trust with this. And, and it turns out to be like, almost like a world-ending scenario. So I guess that's why I would segue. What did you think about the villain in this and the plan, like, that they were trying to stop?
I think the third act of the movie got a little bit jumbled. I think what they were trying to do with the ultimate plan of the villain, I really don't want to get into like the villain himself, but who's played by Christoph Waltz, and like, because it is like, for a Bond, if you're a longtime Bond fan, it is a treat. It is a real exciting thing that they do with the villain in this. But I don't think the way the plan kind of comes together, and like the way the past, I just thought it was a little messy and unclear. I thought his performance was good, Christoph Waltz as the villain. I wish Dave Bautista was given a little more to do.
Yeah, he was pretty much there to be like the muscle and to grunt and try and physically combat him.
Yeah, and some people were like praising him in this movie, and I was like, did he do anything other than like brood or punch? Like, he was like very, very much so what you said. Like, he was like, did he do a good job as it? Certainly, but like, was it anything like I almost like wish they gave him like a little bit of like scenery to chew on, like a little like just like.
Well, he goes when you first see him. I think I remember looking, and I'm seeing that his thumbs were like glowing, like his nails were glowing, and there was something with his thumbs. I've been reading online. I'm sure that there was something that was his golden eye thing, or like Goldfinger type of thing, or like that was supposed to be like his Bond signature villain like look thing. Something about his thumbs, but there was like no focus on it.
I didn't even realize that.
Yeah, it was really interesting, but I wish they had given Christoph Waltz more to do, and especially because of the way, and this was it was a little forced for me that they tied the villain, the way they tied the villain to James Bond, because I saw it in a similar way that they were tying Bond's childhood to M in Skyfall, and I think that after going that route in Skyfall, that it failed a bit in this one.
That's fair.
Digging into Bond's childhood and trying.
On that note, I wish they dug a little bit deeper into, because they.
Well, that's the thing.
They bring up twice. I lost my parents very young. Like, on the one hand, I'm like, you know what? There have been 24 James Bond adventures, and the character, for the most part, is still a huge mystery. And like, how cool would it be to like get like this real look at James Bond and like learn so much about the character that's but on the same hand, like part of the intrigue of James Bond is that he is this.
Well, that's the thing. They would lose that noir quality that that their protagonist can't be figured out, and what are his motives, and is he going to hang it up in the way that they do kind of lead to, a la Iron Man 3. Can we
talk a little bit about how the Bond girl in the movie is the best Bond girl since Casino Royale, played by Léa Seydoux? I think that's how you pronounce it. She's a French actress. She was in Blue is the Warmest Color, which is a great movie.
Well, the interesting thing that I saw, I definitely...
People better not say anything bad about her. I loved her.
You get this older plot idea with in a James Bond movie where he finds this widow that he needs information of, and it's a classic honeypot, and he seduces her and gets that information. This time, he's a little polite. He hooks her up with his American agent friend.
Is
who's
he
gonna,
polite?
He's gonna hide her. He's taking care of her. And then the next woman that you think is gonna be like the Bond girl, she wants nothing to do with him. She's like, don't touch me, get away from me. This is not the part where we have sex.
Just the action.
And she does make it. I definitely thought that she did an amazing job. I can see
films, they kind of after no.
I think what it really comes down to is the direction that they want to take the Bond character. I'm excited to see where it's going to go and see James Bond. How are they going to bring him into the 21st century with in terms of these growing themes.
Mm-hmm. I think that if this were to be the last Bond movie, it would be a nice note to end on, because it almost it is his Indiana Jones going into the sunset. Mm-hmm. He got the girl. Defeated the villain.
Paid tribute to the past films.
And he had that, I'm not going to reveal kind of the ending, but the last scene is really you know what I mean? For Bond fans, it just gets it right. The theme kicks in. It's just a great note to end on.
It's classic.
And it did end nicely because it kind of did, it was almost like an accumulation of that, and the themes of death and loss it was a really interesting way to kind of end on. So thanks for watching. I'm Connor Smith.
And I'm Matt Retroposki.
And that's Spectre.